Hi there folks, and welcome to my channel. Today's project, I was on Facebook earlier in the week, and it came up something about repost this message to remember things about lockdown. So it was had some of the good things like the clap for carers on a Thursday, and spending more time with family and the cleaner air and things like that. So it was lots of different things to remember from lockdown. So I thought I could do something similar in the craft room. So I came up with the idea of making a small album to house lots of the things that have happened during lockdown that I can just writing. And then I decided maybe letters from lockdown would be good. Where I can write things down and collect some of the news cuttings and photos that we've taken and things that I want to keep to remind us of lockdown and the lessons that we've learnt. So I was going to make this using envelopes, but I couldn't find any envelopes that were sturdy enough. So I've made some things myself to go in that look a little bit like envelopes. So they're these sorts of things, um, so that we can lock up and keep. Let's do that properly. Lock up and keep memories and ideas and letters. I've done this before in the past, written letters to my future self, and it can be quite fun, later on down the road to go through those letters. So this is what I'm doing. So, depending on what size album, let's call it an album, you're going to make, you'll need. So for every one of these you want in the album, you will need a piece of craft card that is 9 inches by the width of your paper. Now in the UK this is 8 1/4. I think in America it's something like 8 1/2, isn't it? So it doesn't matter how wide, because the extra bit is just for your tabs. So if you want a slightly wider tab and you've got the wider paper, go with it. So the brown is 8 1/4 by 9 inches, and your bit of scrap you can use for punching 1 inch circles, and you'll need 2 of those for every envelope that you make. And you'll also need either these sorts of brads, or you will need split pin brads, depending on what you want to use, but I'm going to use those ones. You'll also need 3 of these key rings, or you can use, I've got a cinch, but I decided I wanted to use these for a different feel this time. So if you've got a cinch, or what's the other one called, can't remember, or whatever sort of binding system you've got, or you can just use ribbon and twine just to go through the holes and hold it all together that way. So you'll need however many of those the envelopes you want. You'll need a sheet that size. For the in-between pieces that I'm making, I'll show you when we get to it, you will need 8 by 8, and once you've cut down your 12 by 12 paper, the bit that you cut off, keep that and cut that to 7.5. This is already 3 3/4 by 7.5. So cut that down to that. You'll also need some scrap paper. This is 1 inch wide, and I've already glued it on just because I didn't want to be hanging around waiting for it to dry. So an inch wide scrap of paper, pattern paper on there, and we'll get to that, back to that later. So however many of the in-between pieces, and I'll show you what I mean when we get to it. You'll also need 6 pieces of card to form the covers. So 2 covers, I've already glued them together. What I did was I used 3 pieces of card. So you've got the patterned card, which is quite a nice weight already, and you've got 2 pieces different pieces, but 2 pieces of those, and in between I've sandwiched a really heavyweight card. Normally I'd use grey board, but I didn't want it to be too thick and too heavy. I just want this for protection. So the heavyweight card, I think it's about £3.50, and all 3 pieces for this one, for the front of the album, is I haven't written it down, have I? Because I wrote it on there before I glued it. I've tried to do this video 3 or 4 times, just so that's 4 1/4 by 7 3/4. So there was yeah, so 3 for the front and 3 for the back, and just glue them all together. So let's pop those to one side. So you'll also need some scrap card so that you can then do your template for the holes that you're going to make in your papers and pockets when you get to them. And then I've got just something for the topper. So let me grab my scoreboard and show you how I made these. So with the brown, and you use whatever card you like, I'm just wanting to have like an envelope feel to it. So on the 9-inch side, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch all the way down, and at 8 inches. So these will be my tabs for the envelope. Then turn it to the 8-inch side, and you're going to score it at 2 inches and at 6 inches, and then again at 8 inches. So as you see, that's it's just 1/4 inch that we've got there to seal it over. Okay, so I'll come back to the white card in a bit when we're ready for that. Otherwise it gets too complicated. Now, I had started off trying to make it as you would with a normal card. Problem, and you can still do it that way, and that's just scored at 4 inches and 8 inches on the long side, on the 8 1/4 side. But the problem I found was that when I then come to add my discs, I can't then get that into there. It's just not big enough to go all the way through. So I abandoned that idea. But if you want to do that idea, if you've got something like a Click-It or a Chinese screwdriver thing, or if you're going to just use a brad, then you can go ahead with that idea, and then you don't get the seam down the middle as you do with these ones. Okay, so let's get this one prepared. So I'm going to just notch in. So we've got lines going across here, here and here. So I'm going to notch in on that very narrow 1/4 inch one, and then I'm going to cut down to the next score line going across. So just down to it, just over onto the line, and I'm cutting away the score line because it just takes some of the bulk out. I'm going to notch in ever so slightly, and then because this is the tab that will close the envelope, I'm just going to line that up so that I get a match on this side, because what I don't want is to have very strange angles going on. So I'm just matching that up very carefully. I'm going to cut down, and again I'm going to cut all of that corner away like that, taking the whole of the score line with me until I get up to that middle first score line. So I end up with that. So a notch here, get rid of the score line, notch up to the tongue that's going to fold over, notch down and across. And I'm going to do exactly the same on this end, only this time it's for the bottom of our envelope that's going to going to seal the bottom of the envelope over. So I'm not quite as worried about if the notches in are slightly different. So I'm just taking it all the way up to that spool line and down again. There we go. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it all in so we know where we're at. And to make sure that we've taken out all the bulk that we need to out of these bits here. Let's fold that over. Fold that all the way down. So there we go. Okay, and make sure that this folds over as well, that we haven't got any bulk in there that's going to take it away. Just need to make that a little bit cleaner there. There we go. And the same with the top. Fold it in and bring that down. Now I'm taking one of the discs and I'm going to place it in the middle of this tongue very carefully, like that. And I'm going to use my crocodile or whatever you've got, and I'm just going to have to open that out, I think, to get a good. So I'm going to hold that very carefully. I'm going to bring that in and try and get that as much into the centre as I can, and click. And then I'm going to use my brad and I'm going to squeeze that shut. Oh, there we go. Okay, now then, as I said, the next bit is easier because we've got the middle crease. So I've gone ever so slightly over this side, so I'm going to bring myself a pencil mark in where I want to put that circle. So let's just pop that on there. Just going to give a little bit of a guideline there, just so as I know. So I'm going to bring this over, pop that on, and do exactly the same on this side. So I did do it, the first one I did, I went completely wrong. I ended up sealing my envelopes in and then trying to figure out how to get this in the middle, because I had, oops, oh, there we go, nice smooth on the inside. Let's pop that down there. So now we can look to sealing it. What we have to do though is very carefully feed that under there. Let's put the glue down first. So we know not to go any further than that crease mark, school mark. I'm just going to put some glue down. I'm using wet glue, use whatever you're most happy with, and I'm just going to very carefully lift that over and feed it under there. There we go. And then I'm going to seal that end. Okay, and fold that over. Now, oh, I'm going to have to put a clip on there to hold it, I think. So a couple of clips on there just to keep that folded over. So I've this is an old cockle tin that I've put a hole in, and I'm going to take a length of baker's twine and I'm going to just go under there with my baker's twine, and I'm just going to bring it round and tie a knot. So let's get that all the way under and tie a knot as tight in as we can. Oops. All fingers and thumbs now. I've been in the craft room all day, so I think I'm getting a little bit tired. My back's starting to hurt. I treated myself to a nice new like an office chair with some lumbar support and, you know, all of that. But of course, because I'm working from home, so I'm working for 8 hours at the desk downstairs, I've had to use it down there. So I've still got my rubbish chair up here, which is not good for my back if I'm in here all afternoon. So tie that there, and then decide how many times you want to go round. So do a figure of 8, like that. Oops. Get that under there. So I'm only going round a couple of times, like that, and then I'm going to cut it off. Now this has got like a silver going all the way through, so I think I'm going to come back in a bit and just put some glue on the end of there to keep that from unraveling. So let's do that. So that's my first, well, that's my envelopes. That's how I'm making them. And then what I've done is I've then gone ahead and decorated the front of them. So I've used, to do mine, I've used this Lux paper pad, which was gifted to me with a pocket letter that came a couple of weeks ago. And so yeah, I really do like this pocket letter, this pad. It's gorgeous. And I thought very apt because it's all about nature. And I thought, yes, nature. Nature's recovering quite a lot, isn't it, since humans have been less, you know, moving around less. So, yeah, I thought it was quite apt. And because we've been up the park, walking around the park more, taking in the small lake and another pond, it's been really nice to be out in nature and taking our time and not having to rush. So I've already created a template. So this is the width of my finished envelopes, and I've put 3 holes in already. So I mean, you can keep it over like that and then do it, but I prefer to just mark the 3 holes where they're going to be, and then just go in and punch them. Oops. The only problem with these things is that they do clog up a bit, don't they? And go in and punch them like that. Okay, and that's then ready once it's decorated to go into my album. Now the other one that I decided to do, I wanted something to go in between the envelopes. So bringing in my scoreboard again, I've got my 8x8 sheet. So I'm going to now score this. So it's 8 inches by 8 inches. So I'm going to score at one side, right down the middle at 4 inches. Very simple. Score it there, and then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to score at 1/2 inch at this end. Okay, and then knowing that that's going to be the front, I'm now going to notch the front piece at 3 inches, and so there's my 1/2 inch. So I'm now going to come in 1, 2, 3 inches, that's 5. So I've notched at 5 and at 3 there, so that I can see now. So I'm going to use my 5 line. I'm going to draw a diagonal, score at diagonal. So I'm going to bring my 5 down. I'm going to line up that notch there with my 5 line. So there's my 5 line. Bring it down, line that notch up there. I'm now going to line this notch. I'm going to have to do that again now. Line this notch up with the line that I'm already in. I know this is my 5 inch, so I've lined it up. So the notch here is lined up with my 5 inch. The notch here is lined up with my 5 inch. So I'm just going to score straight the way through that, like that. Okay, and I'm going to fold that over to create that effect. Okay, let's pop the board away again. And this time I'm now going to cut. So this is the 1/2 inch score line here. So I'm going to notch in here and again cut away the whole of that 1/2 inch score line all the way down. Take out the bulk. And I'm going to create a little notch at the top as well, like that. There we go. So folding that back up like that, line it up and smooth it down, and I shall bring this in, bring it over like that, and I shall just glue that in place. Whoops. There we go. Bring that over and then reinforce all those crease marks like that. Now this one at the front, entirely up to you. You can cut that away if you want. You can bring that to the back and glue it on the inside if you want to create a reinforced corner. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring some glue down this edge as far as that notch there is, and then I'm going to bring it over and let's fold that down like that, and then we've got another little pocket in here that I can use to put some small little announcements and things like that in, or some small pieces of information. So again, I'm going to bring in my template, and using pencil I'm just going to mark where those holes need to be, and using my crocodile I'm going to cut those out. Whoops. There we go. So now we have that. Let's get rid of them. So now we have that, and then decorate it as ever you want. Okay, so I have decorated mine. Get one. Okay, so I've decorated mine like that, and I'm going to put a piece on the back that I can write on. Now this is the tab that goes inside, so I'm going to write on some of these, and the first one I've already done. It's Be Happy, and I've got a stamp that does these, and I've done them quite randomly over the piece. What I'm going to do is just put a very little memory on there, and with the date, so something that's happened and what date it was. So to make the tab, so coming back to this piece that was 7.5 by 3 3/4, and we've put that 1 inch piece of patterned paper on there. So I'm going to just, using my scoreboard, now to do the other ones, so to do that one, I've taken my paper right on the edge, lined that right up, so it's right in the middle of the bit that you can see, and I've pressed down, then I've brought this over to 2 and pressed down to create this. I want one that's slightly different, so I'm going to bring it this way. Let's see, that's the middle, so 2's the middle. Let's bring it over to 1 1/4 and punch down, and let's flip it over and do 1 1/4 again, 1 3/4, sorry. Again, no, that's going to be too small. Let's take it to 1, just under 1, and click it, and there we have our tab. And what I'm going to do now is, using my metal ruler, line up those 2 dips like that. Oops. line it up like that, and I'm going to go slice through it. Or you can use your scissors if you prefer. I quite like using the scalpel, especially when I've got a good sharp blade on it. So that is going to go in there like that. So I've got 2 tabs, and I'll get another one with another tab on and pop that at the top like that. Oops, let's get them in like that. So I've got three pieces like that that fit into there. They look a bit small at the moment because I'm pushing them all the way in. They don't go all the way in because by the time we've put the rings on. Let's take these out and I'll show you what I mean. So once you've done that, collect up all the envelopes and whatever those I don't know that you're going to use, and then put them in order that you want them to be. So this way for adventure, I'm going to put in the middle, come and enjoy nature, and then I'm going to pop one of these between. I like the contrast between the craft card and the crisp white paper. So do small things with great love. I quite like that because I thought there's been a lot of love throughout this lockdown, hasn't there, with people going out above and beyond to help people. Let's take that one out as well, in lots of different ways. So love nature as well, because nature is recovering while there hasn't been anyone around to interfere. Now I've already punched the holes in the back piece, so I'm going to get my template again, if I can find it. If I put that, there it is. And because the template is the width of the envelopes, I'm going to have to do it by eye. So that one is very slightly over each side. Now, depending on, so that's going to be, let me think about this. That's going to be my back piece. This is going to be my front piece. So it's got to be this side then. Just stop and think for a minute there. So I'll bring in, let's get my pencil again. Do that by eye. And let's put in some marks again. And we can punch some holes, get the right way. I'm using the wider one on my crocodile, just because it gives us a bit more room to put things through. This is the thing that does annoy me with the crocodile. It does get blocked ever so easy. And the amount of times I have caught my fingers when punching is just unbelievable. Right, so there's all my envelopes. Let's pop them all together like that. Yeah, right way around. So I'm going to bring in these and pop it through each one. So I prefer to do them one at a time, just because I find it easier. Because especially on a day like today when I'm all fingers and thumbs. Now the next bit can be a bit hard because I do sometimes end up missing out one of my envelopes, so let's be very careful. And so we're starting off with a white, brown envelope, white envelope, brown envelope, white envelope, oops, and brown envelope and backboard. There we go. And then this one should be a little bit easier to thread through because it's the middle one. There we go. Yep, straight through. Right, there we are. Now then, that's the back, that's the front. So when I pop these back in, this, I'll show you what I mean. So I've got the 3 I'm going to use. So one on the left, one in the middle, one at the right. And then when I pop them back in like that, because I've got the rings there, they don't go all the way down. Oh, shouldn't go all the way down. Why is that stuck? Oh, there we go. So I've got those 3 in there, and I shall make some more for the rest of the white ones. And I might just glue some news sheets on there, or some stories, whatever on there. So yeah, so that's my letters from lockdown. And I will carry on and finish this and put the photo on the front of the video so that you can see how it finishes up, where I shall get some ribbon on here and get the rest of it done. So yeah, so I hope you like the idea, and even if you don't follow my tutorial, think about doing something similar yourself. Some of the things, some of the lessons that maybe we've learned during lockdown, or some of the things you want to remember. Has it been a good time for you? Has it been a sad time? You know, maybe it's been a tough time to be at home throughout. I know a lot of people have found it very challenging being at home, but perhaps there are some memories that you do want to keep. Okay folks, so speak to you later. Hope you like that. Give me a thumbs up, and yeah, look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.